You're listening to Power Talk, Berkeley Electric Cooperative's official broadcast about the cooperative, our communities, and ways to use energy wisely. And now, let's join our hosts for today's episode. Hello and welcome to Power Talk. I'm Micah Ponce, the Communications and Media Specialist here at Berkeley Electric Cooperative, and I am joined as always by my co-host, Miss Libby Roig, the Director of Marketing and Communications.
Good morning, Micah.
It's another wonderful day to have Power Talk on the air.
It is, and we have friends today.
We do. We have a
friends.
full studio for those of you who might be watching on YouTube. We have special guests, Dr. Michelle Norwood, a 7th grade teacher at Sangaree Middle School, and Miss Victoria Wood, who works in special education at Westview Primary School. Did I get that right? Got that right? Okay. All right. Hey, we're off to a good start. That's always the tricky part, getting past the introductions. Well, we like to welcome y'all to the show. And as always, when we have new guests, we gift you with our ceremonial Power Talk mugs.
Oh, nice. These are yours to keep.
Yours to keep. And only people who've been on the show and put up with us for 30 minutes
yes.
are privileged to do it. We try to...
High price to pay.
Exactly. We try to bribe folks. And the other part that we do when we have new folks on the show is we ask you to introduce yourselves a little bit, tell our audience a little bit about yourself, maybe who you are, what inspired you to become an educator, and what you might enjoy doing in your free time. Miss Dr. Norwood, let's start with you.
Oh, okay. My name is Michelle Norwood. I've been in education since 1998. Which is crazy because I have teachers on my hallway who are younger than my teaching career. I decided to get into education right at the end of my college career. I was going to become a recreation therapist.
Oh.
And I did an internship at a residential school for disabled children. And I really found my niche there with teaching them. And I was like, oh my gosh, I really want to do this. So I graduated and immediately went back to school.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been in education ever since. So that's how I found myself where I am. And I like to do new things all the time, and I like to talk. And teaching just clicked. So it was perfect. In my free time, I don't have a lot. I like to bake. I like to cook. I read a lot. I teach a graduate class in the evenings for Grand Canyon University.
Okay.
Education, helping more people become teachers.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something else I do. And my son will tell you I collect coffee mugs, so he's going to be so unhappy that I have another one to bring
Brought
home.
home another one for the collection.
That's basically me. We also we like to foster animals, kittens predominantly from Dorchester Paws too. So that's another thing that kind of keeps us busy. Us, my husband and I, and my family.
I have a whole collection of cats that hang out next door at the business that's right next to our house. So we might have some to send your way.
Yeah.
Well, that's one of our guests. The other one is Miss Victoria Wood. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, ma'am?
When I was 15, I decided I wanted to become an occupational therapist. I worked at, I volunteered at a nursery. They called it a handicap nursery, but now, it would be for students with disabilities. Mm-hmm. And I fell in love with the profession, and people couldn't believe at 15 that I knew what I wanted to do. And so my college program in New Hampshire was a 5-year program from the bachelor level. So you started college knowing what you wanted to do.
Wow.
And so I've been doing therapy for almost 30 years. I started doing outpatient therapy, and I worked in the NICU with the tiny babies. And I've been in the school system for about 3 or 4 years. People said the school was going to be much easier than outpatient therapy, but it's not. And so right now I have about 85 kids on my caseload. Wow. And I capped off last year with about 115. So it's a busy time. I like being I love being an occupational therapist. Every day is different. Every student is different. Mm-hmm. And I feel like I'm making a difference with the kids. I really can see their growth from the beginning of the year to the end. Yeah. And I'm teaching them things that other people can't teach them or they've not been able to learn. And I always say that the children that I work with, my students, they're misunderstood. They're the ones that people see their behaviors and see their shortcomings, and they don't see what their potential is, and I'm able to uncover that potential.
Wow.
And then in my personal life, we go boating. I love the ocean. We have a camper, and before I die, I'm going to travel the world. We're doing one country at a time.
Oh,
so,
awesome.
Yeah, I have a big map on the wall that has pins, and we're filling it up now.
Wow.
That's cool.
Well, I'm a big fan of Westview. My son is in the elementary school, but he started in the primary. So we love our friends at Westview, all the Westviews. But one of our goals that we're starting next summer is to start traveling the 50 states and hit all of those before we do international travel. So that sounds like a great.
Yeah, we
time.
say that we'll do the states in between, states and then countries and back and forth.
Yeah.
Till we get them all.
Awesome.
I guess we need to get motivated. My wife and I have a camper, but we usually only go to Myrtle Beach. So we need to get off of our tuckuses and start traveling some more, I guess. Well, now that our daughter's out of college.
We have one of those maps on the side of our camper
Right.
with the states.
Yep.
And we have 3 states marked off. So
Hey, it's a start. And it's more than we've got. So
Well, and our son's 9, so we definitely want him to understand how diverse the country is before we start. We've done one international trip, but start there, appreciate your own country at this age, and then as he moves into his teen years, we're going to try to do all 50 states in 3 summers. So we've got our work cut out for us. But Victoria, could you talk a little bit about what an occupational therapy does, particularly in the school setting, just in case folks aren't aware?
So when we talk about occupational therapy, occupation means we think of it as a job. And it is, but it's what you do. And so children don't have jobs, but their job is to be a student.
Yeah.
Or to be a child or to play. And as adults, it's not just our job, it's getting dressed and reading and our social life and everything we do. So occupational therapy, we take whatever's not working, whether it's been working and stopped working or has never caught up, and find ways to make it work.
Yeah.
So in the school system specifically, I do a lot of things with fine motor skills, handwriting, cutting, coloring, and then behaviors, sensory things about how the kids are processing things in class.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about in a little while about how my grant helps that.
Yeah.
So and every day is different. I have children from ages 3 up through 12.
Wow.
And all different types of disabilities.
So trying to help remove obstacles to learning for the students.
Yes. So in some ways we teach them the skills to improve. In other ways we have to make accommodations. Some children are never going to be able to hold the pencil the way other people do, or the scissors, or maybe they can't navigate the playground the same way other students do. So we try and figure out the best way to make them independent.
Awesome. Well, in case folks are wondering why we're chatting with a couple of our teachers in the Lowcountry, as a not-for-profit electric utility, Berkeley Electric's governed by 7 cooperative principles, including one of our very favorites, concern for community. So while we're focused on members' needs, cooperatives work to develop their communities by encouraging economic development, promoting education, and advocating safe use of electricity. And the Bright Ideas Education Grants is probably one of our most high-profile examples of the outreach that we do.
Definitely.
Through Concern for Community. And so far, in just a short amount of time, we've distributed more than $100,000 in grants to support innovative and effective instruction in the K through 12 schools that we serve. But both of you are multiple grant recipients, so we're so happy to have you on the show today to share information about your Bright Ideas and what these grants mean to you and to your students. So, Dr. Norwood, you're a multi-year grant winner. Congratulations. Your most recent project was Watch Us As We Grow. So tell us a little bit about this modern agricultural project and what its goals are.
Well, thank you. I mean, thank you so much for supporting all of my little grants. I truly appreciate it.
They're big grants to
Well,
us.
they're yes, but
Yeah.
they're like little like yearly things, and I love them so much. Watch Us As We Grow is the foundation of this huge project I have in my brain that I can't wait to watch it grow. Oh my gosh, it sounds so corny. We do a Feeding America food drive through my school, drive through food bank, and we feed people when they come through. And we have a health program and a health initiative where we do food tastings and everything. And I noticed like my students were just loving sampling all these different foods. But I noticed that my kids had never tried like raspberries before, and they had never tried kiwi before, and they were just so excited, and they were asking for more and more fruits and more vegetables. And I was just like, oh my gosh, this is this wonderful, like these kids want fruits and vegetables. They don't, you know, they like junk food and everything, but they wanted to try the new stuff. And I was like, what could we do to encourage them to grow stuff here? And we have gardens and everything, but I wanted to grow things in my classroom and tie it to, you know, sustainable and sustainability. And also with all of the developments that we've had in Berkeley County and the loss of, you know, farmland and the loss of agricultural space, that I wanted to introduce them to agricultural alternatives. So with the hydroponics, I mean, we're just starting, the 7th grade science is starting small, which is we're able to purchase 2 towers, and we're going to start growing stuff in our classrooms. And eventually I want the students to be able to design upcycle materials that we can find, to design their own, and through the engineering design process, their own hydroponic type towers that we can expand on in the classroom. Hopefully we can develop the program so we can get more hydroponics, develop it through the other science classrooms, develop it through the school, take what we're growing in the classrooms, develop it into gardens outside, maybe incorporate that into our community, into, you know, expanding it through the students. So maybe we can grow strawberries for the kids to eat at school, grow lettuce, grow different foods that they can try. So like I said, it's like the foundation of this huge plan that I have. So I'm, like I said, I'm so excited. And I don't mean to, when I said little, I didn't diminish it. Like it's like, it's the spark of a huge thing that I just can't wait to get started.
Well, I mean, and then that, what you're talking about is so important, because through one of our other projects that we were working with the local food pantry, we found out that, you know, Berkeley County is considered, I guess, a food desert. There's not a lot of easy access to fresh produce and fresh vegetables and things of that nature. And we learned just how important that was for everybody's health, mental well-being, the ability to concentrate while you're in school, things of that nature. So having that fresh food and teaching the kids how to do it on their own, I think is going to be a really important step for folks, especially in this county.
Yeah, definitely. Well, Mrs. Wood, your project is Sensory Space for All Students, and it was selected as a winner this year. Tell us about this effort and why it's important and what you hope to accomplish.
So I realized over time, or over my years, that the students, they need to be in their just right zone. That's what we call it, in order to work. And a lot of students don't come to school in their just right zone, or they fall out of it, or they never were in their just right zone. And so they can't really do academics until they're really in their just right zone. And this is why students might come home and they remember one thing they did all day. They don't remember what they read, who they talked to. They might remember recess. They're not in their just right zone. So what I want to do is create a space and have equipment to help these children get into their just right zone and stay there. Sensory equipment is expensive just because it's called therapeutic. And so this year already I was able to buy, I bought a trampoline ball pit, and I just put 1,000 more balls into it today, and I've got climbing equipment, but I also got a weighted compression vest to send into the classroom, and we have some vibration boards and some things that are not just fidgets, which is what you often see in classrooms. You see pencil fidgets or things. I wanted to get bigger things that the students could use so that they can either come to our OT gym and get themselves organized, or I can send it into the classroom so that they have a little space to get themselves organized.
Yeah. And I just have to think of the impact that the awareness of what these students need to get into that just right zone does for them and the trajectory of their future. You know, if they understand, okay, my body and brain need XYZ, and I'm able to address those needs throughout my life, how many doors that opens for them.
It also has brought awareness to the teachers, because when you don't understand about sensory, all you see is the behavior.
Yeah.
And you think that they're being defiant, or they're have not been taught correctly, or there's something wrong with their behaviors. And a lot of times it's not that. It's that's their reaction, that fight or flight to what's happening to them. So by being present in the school and in all the classrooms, teachers get a chance to understand what we do and have a little bit more understanding of those kids that are not in the neurotypical spectrum.
Yeah. One of our colleagues has ADHD, and he talks about when he was in elementary school, as punishment for not sitting still and being on task, he had to sit out of recess.
And that's the worst.
That seems like gasoline on the fire, you know. And a couple of years later, had another teacher who recognized what the situation was, and perhaps it's okay. You're not on task right now. At recess, you need to run 2 laps before you hit into regular play with the rest of the kids, just to get that energy out.
Right, and then the teacher at the same time can be figuring out what do they need to do. Do they need to modify it? Do they need to have something happen at home so they come more ready to do their work, so that as a team they can figure out how to make this child succeed.
Yeah.
And I think it's very important, too, because in a lot of these cases, the children aren't necessarily able to express themselves and let the folks know sort of what they need, you know, to find that just right space. We've got somebody in our extended family who he's got special needs and he has sensory issues. And, I mean, most of the time he is smooth sailing, but every once in a while when things don't quite line up, you know, his world isn't right. He's not in his just right space, and it takes a little bit of effort to get him back on track. So, I mean, understanding the needs of each of those children is vitally important, I think.
Yeah.
And we don't really think about the language piece. You think, oh, well, they know happy and they know sad and they know mad, but do they know disappointed? Do they know that their engine is running too fast and they can't slow it down, or their engine is too slow and they need to speed it up, or that they're not in their just right zone? And we give them the language. Or if I have a child who's not eating vegetables or fruits, we try to describe what it is about it. It's not just, I don't like it. Is it the texture? Is it the taste? Is it the temperature? Is it how it feels going down your throat? Like giving them the language to explain to somebody how they're feeling.
Yeah.
Well, folks, if you're just now tuning in, we are sitting down with 2 of our Bright Ideas Education Grant recipients, Miss Michelle Norwood and Miss Victoria Wood, some of our local teachers here in the Berkeley County area. And we're talking about the Bright Ideas Grant Program. And, you know, we just are getting ready to start the next round of applications for the grants. That's going to open up in January. So, I mean, I guess let's talk a little bit about the process. We recently changed when the application process started. You know, we had it for a couple of years, and then we saw that we weren't really getting the number of applications that we wanted. So we decided, hey, let's talk to the people who are actually filling out the pieces of paper and see if we're doing things at the right time. So we, you know, changed when we would do it from summer to January. Tell us, you know, a little bit, Dr. Norwood, how does the grant process go? We want more people to apply. So let us know, you know, was it hard? Is it easy? Is it worth it? You know, give us a little bit of a rundown since you've done it a couple times now.
It's so worth it. It's so worth it. I don't understand why people wouldn't do it, in all honesty. I've like become the biggest cheerleader at my school for your grant.
Oh, we appreciate it.
Yes. And I like it better now that you can do it in January. It's very hectic at this time of the year.
Right.
And a lot of times you don't know what you need or what you're going to do. So when you have it and if you know you're going to get it in the spring, you can plan ahead for the upcoming year.
Right.
Which is like what my partner and I did for the hydroponics. Like we're getting them. We're going to start the school year, and we know we'll have them for this entire school year.
Yeah.
So it's like it's going to be a whole school-long project.
Right.
And for the process, you have to start with the end in mind. And I think that's the best thing. And I think that's what trips people up, is that they go into a grant application and they don't know what they want. Like, they don't know what they're going to do. Well, I want money. Well, what for? Like, what is your plan? And if they know, like, what they want to do, then it's easier to fill out the application. It's easier to then design backwards. Like, they have to backwards plan.
I mean, and we recognize that too, because I think we when we started talking to the teachers, we realized, the end of school year, you got testing that you've got to do, you've got all that you're worried about, and so we're just doing a little bit of shuffling, make it a little bit easier. We're always trying to streamline the process as much as we can. And now we're actually changing the judging process. This is new this year. We're going to remove the team requirement.
So as Micah was saying, every year we try to improve the process a little bit. Previously, individual teachers could apply for up to $1,000 in funding, and teams could qualify for up to $1,500. So now we're just saying anybody can apply for up to $1,500, and no matter how many teachers are working together. So we're hoping again this will make a bigger impact for our students and the teachers. So Mrs. Wood, you won a grant both in 2023 and 2024. What would you tell a fellow educator who's considering applying for a grant?
Just to go for it and to think outside the box. Originally when the grant information came in my inbox, it talked about teachers. And I thought, well, I'm an educator, and there's got to be a way that maybe I can get in on this as well. Like I think outside the box. Mm-hmm. And it's not necessarily, some people think, well, I'm not doing a math project, or I'm not doing a science project. You have to think of what really your students are going to benefit from. Yeah. And I talked to other teachers about it, and they're like, oh, yeah, I should do that. And I think that they're nervous that they're not going to fill it out correctly, or that they're not going to win, or maybe they procrastinate. But I'm a cheerleader for the program, so I think they just need to give it a go.
Yeah. And, we are happy to fund all different kinds of ideas, whether it's specialized equipment that you need for a particular lesson, or just to support the services that you're providing, or perhaps it's a field trip tied to a lesson or a book you're reading in your class, and you need those funds to help underwrite those costs. We love seeing the ideas as they come down, and like we were talking about improving the process, we found that when the application period was over the summer, you guys are tired after a very intense 9 months, mm-hmm. and you're trying to rest and reflect and rev up for the next school year. So writing grants was probably not a good thing to do over your summer break. And we have found tremendous response having the January, February application period. And we award the grant checks at the 5K, which is in late April. So you, as Dr. Norwood was saying, have those funds that you can then kind of plan over the summer, or how you're going to deploy it and be ready to hit the ground running first of the school year, instead of waiting for that check in the fall and trying to get caught up.
And I think the proof is in the pudding. We had more teachers, I think, apply and awarded.
We set records every year.
Yeah, we're setting records every year, and we want to keep doing that because it's so much fun seeing what ideas the teachers dream up for their Bright Ideas education grants. And we've seen everything from building chicken coops and doing garden type things to music, rocket science. I know they were doing a lot of stuff with VR there for a while. So where do y'all get your inspiration for your projects from? Is it just one of those things that pops into your head late at night? Are you scribbling? You got a little notebook you scribble stuff down in? What's the inspiration, Dr. Norwood?
A lot of times I'll have an idea for a project, and with a grant I can level it up. Mm-hmm. Like I'll take something that I'm already doing in the classroom, and with grant funds I can make it better. With one of my first grants I was from Bright Ideas. I was able to, we were teaching in 7th grade, we were doing human body systems. But I thought, wouldn't it be wonderful if we could treat it like they were doctors and they were, investigating illnesses and research, going through they were investigating the human body. And the grant, the grant enabled me to provide, I was able to get a skeleton. I was able to get x-rays of broken bones. I was able to get stethoscopes and blood pressure cuffs and thermometers. And I turned my students into little mini doctors. And that, so rather than just learning about illnesses and the heart rate and everything and they were able to actually measure it and observe it and look at it. And so that's like, like I said, it leveled it up.
Yeah.
So.
And that's so great, because the common phrase is, well, why do I care about this? How am I going to use this when I get out of school, that sort of thing. And you can show them the career options and what somebody's job looks like in that field, and or why you should care as a human, with your human systems example.
And it's sustainable because I've used those products with years of students now, because I got that first grant in 2018 and it's now 2024.
Yeah.
And I used it with brothers and sisters, and I have pictures that I show them, and it's been great. I mean, it's wonderful.
Micah, money well spent.
Yep.
Yes, it has.
It sounds a lot better than what I had. I just like the little operation game, when you were growing up.
I got your money's worth. I definitely did.
Well, as Libby mentioned, the grants are funded by our 5K, the Bright Ideas 5K, which we host at Cypress Gardens each year and each spring. And we are grateful for our sponsors and their generous support. And, they're making the projects that you're hearing about today possible, and they're directly enhancing the learning experience in our classrooms. And I think it's also kind of neat that, we used to have a separate event where we would honor the teachers and award them the grants. Now we do it at the 5K, so the people who are running the 5K can meet the teachers who they are directly affecting.
Yeah.
They can see the folks who they're actually out there raising the money for.
Yeah.
And I think that's a little bit more impactful. So, you get to see like the fruits of your labor. You're out there sweating, putting in the hard work.
Yeah.
And these are the folks who are going to be very grateful for, you helping you raise those funds.
So, mark your calendar for Saturday, April 26th.
That's right.
This coming year. And it's the only 5K held at Cypress Gardens, so it's an extra special event, we think.
And it's beautiful out there.
It is.
And we haven't lost anybody to alligators yet.
Not yet. Tripped on a couple of roots, but,
Well, one of the things we always, like you said, we're trying to spread the word. So, Ms. Wood, how did you actually hear about the Bright Ideas Education Grant Program? You're fairly new to the system.
Yes, it came through our email, and I pay attention to everything that comes through the email. I think a lot of people maybe just push things aside, but I pay attention to everything because I want to know what's out there or what is available. And, my grant came out of need. When I worked in a private practice, I might have only needed one weighted vest and one swing. And now I'm in, 15 different classrooms. Imagine how many vests I need and how many balance boards and things that I need to provide for the classrooms. So I just encourage people to read those emails that come through and just see what opportunities are out there.
Yeah. And Berkeley Electric has a pretty wide service territory. We serve portions of the Tri-County, so we're out on Johns Island, portions of Charleston County, portions of Dorchester County, and then most of Berkeley County.
Yeah, Pineville, St. Stephen, all over the place.
Yeah. So any of our K through 12 teachers are eligible, private or public schools, to apply for funding. And, for the co-op perspective, we feel like it's workforce development. We're better equipping our students in the classroom. So hopefully their educational process is more effective and they can go off and do bigger and better things when they get out of school.
Well, we've talked a little bit about how, the co-op supports, Dr. Norwood. What does it mean for the local co-op providing these opportunities, these grants? What kind of impact does it have, I guess, to the school system and the community in your mind?
It has a huge impact. I've worked in 3 states in different school systems, and I have never seen a business that supports schools like Berkeley Electric. I never have. Between the day of caring, the clearing the list, the grants, you guys are front and center supporting schools all the time. I've never seen anything like it. And it means so much. It really does.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, well, like Libby said, it's at the heart of our service. It's one of the things that we definitely are committed to is serving the folks in our communities, and can't think of a better way to do it than by supporting our local educators.
Yeah, I got a little scared when you tied it to the 5K. I was like, I'm not running that 5K to get that grant. But,
hey, that's a good idea.
Yeah, I did see someone who ran the 5K and then went and got her grant. I'm like, good, she deserves it.
God bless her.
Yep.
Yeah.
But it does. It means so much, and it's there's nothing like having local community support education, and there's a huge tie, and it's shown to be successful and help successful schools too. Because a school is only as strong as the community that supports it.
Yes.
You have
Definitely.
to build those connections.
Well, as we mentioned, the application period for the next round of our Bright Ideas Education Grants opens up in January of 2025. And for more information, you're going to be able to go to our website, berkeleyelectric.coop, and you can follow us on social media and read more about it in the South Carolina Living magazine. And thank you for tuning in to another edition of Power Talk. That's going to do it for today. And you can always catch up with us past episodes on streaming platforms like Spotify, Apple, and iHeartRadio, and always get a behind-the-scene look at Berkeley Electric's YouTube channel. So until next time, this is Power Talk, signing off.